Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a short little knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Maxace Orion in Magnica, which is pretty cool. This is an example of a Maxace knife that is not totally insane. In fact, it's actually pretty normal, and it's got a pretty decent price tag on it. I will link it right down in the description for you guys to check out. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Thanks to Maxace for sending this in. I think I already said that. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex and on TikTok at the_metal_complex. I want to say that Maxace, in a lot of ways, and in some of their models, is kind of like doing what I want, what I wish ZT would, like, this could easily have been a zero tolerance model. And it's just funny. I was looking, at the price tag, and I was like, man, it's so funny now, because like 10 years ago, the price of this is what I would expect to see the same thing made by ZT. Obviously, it's not 10 years ago. It's now. So the prices have changed, and it's just funny to me that this price is now completely acceptable and actually pretty impressive in 2024, right? This has a lot of additional, polishes over something that we might have seen 10 years ago, and it's also sporting Magnica, which is not a cheap material, right? But ZT, not to like, I don't necessarily mean to like bring them into this review, but their knives are just not nearly as interesting as they used to be. But Maxace is doing a lot of what people enjoyed about ZT in some of their models, not all of them. Obviously, they have some super, absolutely insano models. But it just really feels like a, 2010 to 2015 ZT knife in a lot of ways, and in like the best ways. So I just wanted to point that out. It's real snappy action. We'll talk about that. But let's get through the specs first. Some size compare. Actually, no, we're going to measure it first. The overall length of this knife is, there we go, there's my tape measure. The overall length of this knife is about 8.5 inches, so it's a bigger boy. Blade length, 3.75. Cutting edge, 3.5 inches. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons up against the AD-10 and the AD-20.5. You can see here, it is on the larger side without being absolutely massive. Let's go ahead and do the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. Definitely larger than both. And then finally, let's put it up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca. How's the action? Boy, do I like the action on this knife. First of all, the lock bar insert, for whatever reason, is polished. Maxace. Okay, fine. It's just really random. Why? That one area, right? The detent on this, more importantly. Oh, boy. Flipper tab. Wonderful shape. Man, that release and snap is so good. It is clicky, metallic. It's just got that. You remember the first time you flipped a good ZT? Flips like a ZT used to be like it was like a thing that like reviewers would say, right? Flips like a ZT, and everybody instantly knew, oh, that means it's good, right? And they were correct, because 10 years ago, good flipping action, like relationship, flipper tab shape and detent strength and all of that, weight and mass of the blade, that was like a mystery to everybody but a few companies. And ZT had really nailed it down. And so everybody, kind of used that as an example. But the first time, I remember thinking, like, what the heck? These reviewers are bought and paid for, right? People say that to me all the time. How good could it possibly be? And I remember I flipped one for the first time, and I thought, oh my gosh, they weren't kidding. This is amazing, right? That's what it feels like. It feels really, really good. I like it. It also, you have really good access to the lock bar here. And there's no double clutch, right? It's very smooth. It's just really good. It's exactly what you'd want. It's very satisfying, right? Everything that you would expect from a good flipper, and then they just took it a couple steps further. It really is a spectacular flipper. I like it a lot. Let's go ahead and do carry profile. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. This is contoured, but it's right about the same, maybe slightly thicker. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. Yeah, it's more the size of the PM2, but it's definitely going to be heavier. It's also pretty tall between this point and the flipper tab. So consider that. Let's go ahead and weigh it. What are we looking at for materials? We're looking at contour titanium, big titanium backspacer, titanium pocket clip, and God, no wonder, no milling whatsoever for weight reduction. So I'm not sure why Maxace decided to do that. This is probably going to end up being like a 6-ounce knife. No, okay, not as bad as I thought. Sorry, we're going to go one more time here. 5.5 ounces roughly. So it's heavy, but not quite as heavy as I thought it was going to be. That's interesting. Anyways, let's go ahead and do a hardware check. We'll get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. The pivot is almost certainly a T8. And then we have, oh, thank you, Maxace. T8 for both body screws, and then there's a hidden screw for the pocket clip, and also the screw for the lock bar insert is hidden and it doesn't come out over here, but there is an insert and there is a screw in there. They don't show anything on this side. So very, very easy and straightforward to take apart. It also comes with a bag of additional hardware, which is something that Maxace always does. That's actually not even the right bag of hardware. That's to the big fella. I forgot to put that back in the box. But these do come with additional hardware. I must have just mixed those hardware bags up. I can tell because these have Chicago screws and this design. Wait. No, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. That's interesting. So that whole piece there, it doesn't go in to the backspacer. The entire screw on one side is the Chicago end. So never mind. That is the right hardware. Anyways, it comes with the additional hardware. Sorry, that was really confusing. Very easy to take apart and put back together. As long as you have the right tools for the job, you should be good to go. Let's go ahead and measure the blade stock thickness real quick, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes. Blade stock thickness is 154 thousandths. Yeah, about what I'd expect. Okay. I really like the feel, the look, and everything. And I'm not a person who needs to carry a larger knife, right? And I'm not talking like cold steel large. I just mean like day to day, truthfully, something like the Ontario Rat 2 is probably still overkill, right? I don't carry this stuff because I need it, right? I carry it because I like to, This is the kind of knife that got me super interested in the world of pocket knives. Size, look, feel. It's not necessarily my favorite blade shape, but it does work, right? It's got this sort of aggressive clip point, but it's just got all of those things. And if you're like me, this type of knife is the right knife, I think, when people are coming out of that sub $100 world and they're like, okay, I said I would never, but I kind of want one of these. Like, this Metal Complex guy has really got me. I used to just watch him for entertainment, but now I'm actually thinking maybe I kind of do want to buy one of these, right? These are the kinds of knives that I always tell people, like, if you're gonna do it, something like this, because it's larger, it's titanium, it feels more heavy duty. It's the type of knife where that part of your brain that you is wrong, right? But you can't stop it. Like, bigger, heavier, solid quality. Big, heavy, solid equal quality, right? We know that's not that. Like, there are plenty of ultra lightweight knives that cost 10 times what this costs, But that part of your brain you can't help but listen to, especially when it's your first, it's your first venture into this expensive territory, right? These are the types of knives that I tell people, let's go for it, because it is satisfying to that part of your brain, and at the same time, it's still a good design, right? Ergonomically, it's pretty comfortable. This edges right here maybe could be a little softer, but they're not bad. The pocket clip is probably a little bit too long, but at least it's knocked down, so it's really not much of a bother, right? Ergonomically, it's pretty good. This area here, relationship between index finger and thumb, also nice, right? But disengagement of the lock bar, which quite a bit of tension there, by the way. that, the feel of that flip, right? Blade finish is a machine satin, not my favorite, but it's fine. They do a good job. Cutting edge, it's relatively thick, but you know what? It'll still slice. I've got a little piece of paper up here. I don't even know what that says. I can't even read my own handwriting. It doesn't matter. I don't need it. Yeah, it's fine. Right? It's not the sliciest blade in the whole world, and cutting paper doesn't tell you too much. Obviously, you're going to have a lot harder time with something like cardboard or styrofoam, but it's fine, right? Tip is good. Maxace's MagnaCut, last I heard, was running 60 to 62, which is within the optimal range set by Laren Thomas, the person who developed it. But most of the community that I've heard from, including myself, prefer it from 63 to 64. I have handled and used a ton of MagnaCut blades, ranging anywhere from 60 all the way up to 64. And let me tell you, the ones that are sitting at 63, 64, yeah, there's a huge, like, incredibly noticeable difference. Not that that should be any surprise, right? I mean, the same could be said for pretty much anything. If you're new, no, it is not a hard cutoff at 60 for all steels. Every composition has its own optimal range, right? So, for example, 1095 and the purpose for that composition is actually sub 60 optimal. I think it's 57, 59. It depends on the blade, right? M390 on like a folding knife, pocket knife with relatively thin geometry. Optimal is going to be maybe 61, 62. Some people might even say 63. I'd say 61, 62. MagnaCut, people tend to prefer it 63, 64. My point is, it just depends on a number of factors, and it depends on the composition itself. There is no absolute right answer, but I personally wish Maxace would bring it up a bit. Companies who are doing it 59 or lower, I'm not going to name any names, but I mean, I don't even know what they're doing. The companies I won't say who it is, but I think we all know. There was somebody who was trying to justify. They're like, well, we're just kind of messing. We're trying to, learn about it, trying to mess around. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with this range. There's a lot of words that basically said we're not willing to heat treat it any higher. 59 or lower is just bad. Period for MagnaCut. I mean, you might as well be, have a gum wrapper like attached to a handle. Like it's just baloney, But 60 to 62 isn't bad. It's just not what I would consider to be optimal. So I wish that they would bring that up a little bit. Anyways, the fit and finish of this knife and any Maxace knife is just going to be absolute top tier. Maxace does some of the very best machine work in the world. Long time ago, it used to be if the knife was made in China, it meant that it's just not going to be anywhere close to perfect. Nowadays, a lot of times the only ways to get absolute perfection is not specifically buying a knife that's made in China, right? Or just like generically in China. No, but specifically knives from Maxace, Riot, Reich, companies like that. They make some of the nicest, most complex but perfect knives out there for sure. And this is the case here. The fit and finish on this knife is absolutely perfect. Everything is just flawless. Cutting bevel is perfectly even all the way down. It just looks great. So really nice that Maxace can do that and still have a reasonable price tag. This is kind of neat, right? Where it's almost like the bevels, the chamfered edges, I guess, all the way around are kind of highlighting this zone. I wish they had done something a little bit more, but I think that's part of how they kept the price down to where it's at. So, okay. A little bit of highlight here. They seem to only want to do this color of blue or like a gold ano. And I really wish that they would play around with some other colors. Like, I know you guys can do it. Purples and greens and stuff. Like, do that stuff. I think it'd be really cool. It's just like every Maxace that releases is like, do you want blue accents or you want gold accents? Like, I think it'd be neat to do some other colors. This has a lanyard slot thing, which is great because then we don't have to look at a big stupid hole in the handle. But they committed, in my opinion, kind of a knife crime. They did that thing where they optimized the screw position over the pocket clip position, which is just why. just put the screw back here so you can move. I mean, they even have space up here for the pocket clip to move up. Not that deeper is always better. In fact, the carry depth here is fine, but it's like, move it up. I mean, I would prefer that it's slightly deeper, you know, but I just don't understand the prioritizing a screw over pocket clip placement. It just doesn't make sense to me. Outside of that, the pocket clip is fine, good retention, right? It's knocked down at the edges, just really no issues there. In and out of the pocket, just fine. There's a stop pin located right here, big old fat stop pin with a little bit of shouldering, no blade play, up, down, left to right. No lock stick, no double clutch, no pivot lash whatsoever, which is great. That's what I expect from Maxace. Very smooth and consistent, and here it'll only get better. Wonderful, wonderful detent. I would say that's medium heavy, just about perfect for something like this. In fact, I'm going to say it is perfect. That's a perfect detent. And then we also have perfect centering. The Maxace Orion is a big knife. It's a heavy knife. It's not going to be for everybody, but it's $188. And outside of the it's not even really an issue, like a major issue, but it is definitely worth noting, and it's a valid complaint for people who are wanting their blade steels, I guess, optimized, right? I keep doing that because it's still a matter of opinion, but Maxace, I really wish you'd get your HRC up just a little bit higher. I think that would be better. But, you know, it's like I said, this is, for people who don't mind the fact that it's a little larger, it's obviously not going to be for everybody because it's on the larger and heavier side, right? But if that doesn't bother you, this is a wonderful knife at $188. I don't think that price is bad at all. I think that's pretty darn impressive. Specifically, though, this is the type of knife that I recommend to people who are just like trying to, they really want to see, you know, is that upper tier, like those more expensive knives, do they really feel that much better? This is the type of knife that's going to give you a really good example, right? And sort of engrave or imprint those feelings on your, it sort of sets a bar, right? The really good detent, the really good flipping action, right? The cool factor, that heft, right? So it's just cool. It's a good, cool knife for not an absolutely absurd amount of money, and I think Maxace did a pretty good job with it. So that's going to be pretty much it. Boy, I keep saying these reviews are going to be short, and then they're long. Sorry, I just have a lot to say. You know, after 4,300 uploads, I still have a lot to say. That's weird. I'm definitely going to lose my voice like when I turn 40. That's going to be it, though. Recommendable knife, though, for sure. Mainly for people who don't mind knives on the larger side. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.